I like how they've been doing these art promos, but they don't announce that they do these art promos anymore. So that's one piece of artwork. Well, that's your mistake. Because you don't get the swag 5x7 art prints. It's hard to like hold these straight on camera. I think that one's from the original TFA, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I mean, I get it for you guys in Europe. So I live, like, now I live in the town over, but before I lived in, like, the one central postal station of the entire state. So I got my mail pretty quick. It takes, like, only 2 or 3 days from when they actually ship it. I think this one is new too, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a new piece of artwork. Is it just like glaring my screen? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's new. And I think this one's also new too. That one's sweet. Then there's this new jungle piece. I'm assuming that's new. That might be from Heart of the Elders. I could be mistaken. And then this one looks new too. And I'm assuming it's from Boundary. Or Return to Boundary. That one's cool too. I forgot I have to reverse it. There we go. You guys can see that a little better. So that's all the new artwork. No, I think that's supposed to represent, like, Boundary Beyond. Where you go back to, like, ancient Mexico. And I think it's, like, if you look closely, you can see, like, there's, like, the tear and stuff around here. So it looks like a tear in time. I could be mistaken, but I think if anything is supposed to be Nakotis, I would assume it's supposed to be this piece. Apocalypto. Oh, Mel Gibson, you crazy son of a bitch. Onto the actual goods itself. Oh god. So glary. Do we want spoilers or no spoilers? I know, Vase, you don't really care about spoilers. But I'm going to assume, since it seems like nobody else has their box yet, I don't want to spoil the actual cards. Player card spoilers are fine unless anyone objects. Okay. I think the player cards have been leaked already, right? So we know there's a... So as far as player cards go, can we see the encounter and spoil replacement for Ancient Evils? Sure. As long as nobody objects to it. Okay, so art in the box is cool, as always. It's Taco's Bay, right? Alright, so ooh, look at this. They finally decided to make these inserts double-sided. Look at that. How exciting! There's a lot going on in here. Okay, so... Wow, there was quite a bit changed here. No, it's like almost quadruple. Because you get... Or it's like at least triple, because you get this whole inside thing. And then the achievements on the back. And it feels like it's bigger than the previous ones. I might be wrong. I'd have to double check. I'm actually gonna go do that real quick. Hold on, I'm gonna go grab those. But when they originally packaged Return to Carcosa, they folded it in like that. So interesting that they made the decision to not do that and just put it on top of the box, which I greatly appreciate. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of, like, actual change. Do you guys want to hear about the additional Explore rules? I don't know how much of this you guys want spoiled or not. I'll give it a second. Getting a lot of yeses. Okay, so as far as... Whoa, cool. Okay. So I'll give you the encounter set replacement names first. So replacing Dark Cult, there is the Cult of Nakotis. Replacing the Expedition encounter set, there is Doomed Expedition. Replacing Temporal Flux, there is Temporal Hunters. And then replacing Yig's Venom is Venomous Hate. Ooh, exciting. And the encounter set icons look pretty snazzy. Okay, so additional Explore rules. I didn't see anyone say no, so I'm gonna tell you guys straight up here. Okay, so observe the following additional rules while resolving Explore abilities in Return to the Forgotten Age. If an enemy is drawn from the exploration deck, it is resolved as normal. If it is discarded, place it in the encounter discard pile as you normally would. This is considered an unsuccessful exploration. Okay, so great, they add enemies into the deck. That's fun. And then the second bullet point is in some scenarios there are additional changes to the Explore rules. These changes are noted on the setup card for each scenario. Okay. So particularly in each given scenario there might be variations in the way that Explore works. Interesting. Okay, so there's additional campaign guide instructions for 3 scenarios. Chat, what 3 scenarios do you think they are? I think one's a pretty dead giveaway, but I think you'd be surprised by the other 2. Oh, hey, Manson. You're just in time for the show. Wow, chat got the big brain today, yeah. So there is there's changes to Threads of Fate, Heart of the Elders Part 1, which I think is a pretty obvious giveaway. And then, yeah, there's changes to Depths of Yoth. Interesting, interesting. So it sounds like there isn't a replacement for Ancient Evils. So they threw in a twist there, yeah. Because there's only 4 encounter set replacements. I think this one's probably my favorite. If it focuses, there it goes. That's badass. That's super cool. But yeah, chat, do we want the additional campaign guide instructions spoiled as well? Or should I just skip right over to the achievements? So, okay, so Threads of Fate has a new intro, which I won't read. Just because it's a bunch of gobbledygook. And then it has a couple new bullet points here. It says, while resolving Resolution 1, you resolve the following as well. If Act 3G was completed, record in your campaign log that the investigators recruited the help of another expedition. Any one investigator may choose to include the story asset into their deck, and it doesn't count towards your deck size. Each investigator earns 1 additional experience for each Act 2 and 3 that was completed during the scenario. As you gain insight into the schemes of the Brotherhood, additional experience gained for completing Act cards during the scenario, including Act 1 cards, cannot be spent to purchase cards, and instead it must be spent to remove poison, cure trauma, or it must be converted into supply points. Huh. Interesting. So now you get more supply points when you go to that resupply after Threads of Fate. So that's interesting. During the resupply point at the end of the scenario, there is no longer a limit on how much experience may be spent to remove trauma. Additionally, each investigator may convert up to 10 of their experience to supply points, at a rate of 1 supply point for every 2 experience point converted. Interesting. So yeah, it looks like you're gonna get a ton more experience in Threads, but a bunch of it you're only going to be able to spend removing poison, curing trauma, or getting more supplies. Interesting. Okay, so moving on to Heart of the Elders Part 1. While resolving the no resolution reached resolution for the scenario, instead of replaying Heart of the Elders Part 1, the investigators may choose to proceed with the following resolution. Resolution 2. Flavor text, I'm not going to read that for you guys. I'm not going to spoil everything. Buy it yourself, you mooks. Okay, but you have trespassed into a hostile land. Place pillar tokens on the mouth of Kinyan until there's exactly 6. Then for every pillar added this way, record 2 tallies under Yig's Fury. Ooh, that's a good change. That's how it should have been done in the first place. I like that change quite a bit. Okay, so as you pass by the pillars, intense pain rushes its way through your body, and you are afflicted with a terrible curse. Each investigator who is poisoned takes a mental trauma, and each investigator who is not poisoned becomes poisoned, and then you proceed to resolution 1. Huh. Interesting. That's cool, though. So I like that you continue onward, but you do suffer some sort of bad side effect if you don't do well. I'd be curious to see how the scenario is done differently. And then Depths of Yoth, while resolving any of these scenario resolutions, resolve the following as well. Check your supplies if an investigator has sticky goop, and an investigator has collected a strange liquid. Ooh, slithering evils. That's the one you want. Yeah, slithering evils. I like that. So you can collect a strange liquid. And then there is a new supply that you get for doing that, which again, I will not spoil. And then as far as the achievements go, we have, why did it have to be snakes? Defeat 20 serpent enemies. That seems difficult. I'm surprised it wasn't a high vengeance count, though you probably would have a pretty high vengeance at that point. Watch them unravel, complete all the acts during a single playthrough of Threads of Fate. Hope for humanity, restore Ichitaka's faith in humanity in Boundary Beyond. Scenario 5, what? Skip Heart of the Elders Part 1, interesting, okay. So we already know that's going to be difficult. This boundary is pretty difficult in and of itself. Beyond Perfection, complete all the tasks on Act 2 of City of Archives. They might have. Okay, so City of Archives has some changes to it too. The next one is I Remember Everything. Restore Alejandro's memories in City of Archives. Patricide is to defeat Yig. He's got a point, which is to side with Alejandro and Shattered Aeons. Veluzia Sounds Great, which is to side with Ichitaka. I've built up an immunity, which is to beat the TFA campaign without ever becoming poisoned. Holy Jesus, that sounds hard. We have an understanding, which is win TFA without ever dealing any damage to the Harbinger. That one's probably one of the easier ones, I think. Just because I think most people tend to go very evade heavy in that campaign to begin with, so. then. Who needs any of this junk? Win the Forgotten Age campaign without purchasing any supplies. What? Are you kidding me? Who does that? That sounds very difficult. I'd be curious to see if anyone can actually do that. I guess it kind of would be like doing an all standalone run. Except obviously that you like gain experience after each scenario, but that sounds very difficult. Don't tread on me. Excellent. That's funny. Win the Forgotten Age campaign with no tally marks under Yig's Fury. The bane of Yig is to win the TFA campaign with 25 plus tallies under Yig's Fury. If I could turn back time. Oh, wow. Matt Newman making all of the pop culture references in these achievements. Forge your own path, unlock scenario 9, and win TFA. And then Yoss Expertise. Win TFA on Expert. Ugh. Man, I don't even like play on Expert ever, but that sounds obnoxious. I like that kind of like reddish, what is that, like maroon or burgundy color? That's nice. Yeah, so you can put it in the box like that. Look at that, that's big brain moment right there, dude. Curse you, cellophane. Let's talk about Backpack. I think Backpack's one of those cards that is like surprisingly underrated. I think, well, like specifically in Mandy, it's very good. Like you can make that card very good. But like obviously it's one of those cards that the more they print items, the better that card gets. We'll start with the Guardian cards. So we have a Blood Eclipse level 1. It focuses. Come on, focus. Focus your energy. I don't know if you guys can see that because it's not focusing. Stupid webcam. There we go, look at that. Okay, so as an additional cost to play Blood Eclipse, you take 2 damage. Fight uses willpower instead of combat. You get +2 willpower and it deals +2 damage. Okay, pretty interesting. The next player card is another Guardian card. We have Survival Knife level 2. I have to like put it over my face, though it focuses. Come on, focus. Double icons, pretty interesting. Okay, I'm just gonna read them off. So it has a fight action, you get +2 fight, and then it has a reaction that says, when an enemy attacks you during the enemy phase, before resolving the attack, you exhaust it. You get to fight. This attack targets the attacking enemy, you get +2 fight and deal +1 damage. So I think that's just pretty much just a straight buff, right? Just gives you +2 to both fight actions. Yeah, I think the other thing that's nice about it too is that it has 2 icons. It has 2 fight icons. So like even if you don't need it, it still has good icons. Interesting Guardian cards. Okay, so we have 2 Seeker cards. Looks like there's 2 of everything. With an additional bonus. Fancy. Okay, I think we'll talk about this card because I don't think it's very interesting. So we'll kind of glance over it. So there's a Truth from Fiction level 2. Oh my god, focus please. Camera does not want to focus whatsoever. So, okay, so Truth from Fiction level 2 costs 1, it's an event, has 3 intellect icons. You get to place 2 secrets among assets controlled by investigators at your location. 3 secrets instead if there is a clue. So, a slight buff to that. It's already a pretty situational card to begin with. And then, of course, we have a new Ancient Stone. Transient Thoughts. And it is a 2-cost asset, bearing 2 agility icons. Really does not want to focus. That's fine. Okay, so you can only include it in your deck if you've upgraded from unidentified ancient stone. Uses X secrets, where X is the number in the parentheses next to identifying the stone. And then it has a reaction that says when you draw any number of cards, spend that many secrets, move that many times. So, interesting. Not sure how useful that is. Ooh, okay. Interesting new rogue card here. So we have Decorated Skull. Oh, look at that. It wants to focus now. Alright, so 0-cost Decorated Skull. Uses 0 charges. After an investigator, ally, asset, or an enemy at your location is defeated, place a resource on it as a charge. And then you can spend up to 3 charges to draw that many cards and gain that many resources. Ooh. Yeah, much more action efficient. That's neat. That's neato. And then we have everyone's favorite rogue weapon. Cult Vest Pocket. Level 2. Oh, I wanted to focus for that card, but not for this card. I see how it is. Alright, so same deal. It has 5 ammo. You can spend an ammo to fight, you get +2 combat, and it deals +1 damage, and then has a forced effect that says, at the end of the round, if you triggered Cult Vest Pocket's action ability, you have to discard it. So once you start shooting, you gotta keep shooting. So it's slightly better than the original, which just made you discard it regardless. Yeah, I kind of like the Cult Vest Pocket because it allows you to play it beforehand. And like actually get use out of it, whereas like the previous one you'd have to play it and then shoot. So like presumably you would take an attack of opportunity to play the original one. It seems especially good in Tony, because Tony gets all those additional actions from killing enemies or having bounties on enemies. And +2 is nothing to scoff at. Yeah, I would agree. It's pretty good momentum. Okay, and then we have the ever-exciting Mists of R'lyeh level 2. Oh, my camera really does not want to focus. Focused for a second there, come on. You son of a bitch. Okay. Alright, so Mist level 2, cost 2, has an agility icon, uses 5 charges, which I think is an additional charge. Could be mistaken. Has a action that says spend a charge evade. The evasion attempt uses willpower instead of agility. You get +1 willpower for the evasion. If you succeed after evading the chosen enemy, you may move to a connecting location. And then if a special symbol is revealed during the evasion attempt, you have to choose and discard a card from your hand. Okay, so not a huge change to it. It looks like you get an additional charge and a tiny buff, which is cool. I think Mist was already a very good card to begin with, so not much really needed to change in that regard. Shut up, Windows. Nobody cares about you. Mist is super good. Like, it was already good, and then they just made a better version of it. So that's an exciting card. Yeah, so we have a level 3 Chthonian Stone. Alright, so the Chthonian Stone, the Stygian Waymark, is a 3 experience, 2 cost asset. It has Seal the Skull Cultist Tablet Elder Thing. It has 3 charges. If there are no charges on it, return it to your hand. Forced, after you would reveal the auto-fail during a skill test, remove a charge from the Chthonian Stone. Okay, so this is slightly different from the original one. Yeah, dude, probably, man. I would probably still draw the auto-fail even if I was removed from the game. So, if I remember correctly, the original Chthonian Stone just forced you to discard it after you Found an auto fail, if I remember correctly. I'm sure chat will. Did it return to hand? And it costed 3, right? Okay, so we get a cost reduction. We get some additional uses out of the seal, which is kind of neat. So, interesting card. Alright, so before we get into the other new cards, we already know about this one. That was the one they spoiled, officially. So we already know about this On Your Own, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but definitely a neat build-around card. Yeah, so it's On Your Own is an exceptional permanent. Your investigator gains deck building restrictions, no assets that take up the ally slot, and then when you play a survivor event, exhaust it and reduce its cost by 2. So in solo, that seems much better than in multiplayer, whereas reducing cost in solo is arguably not as useful, just because actions are much less important, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. I think it's really on a deck-by-deck basis. I think, like, Wendy could make good use of it. Like, if you're building those, like, Will to Survive decks, then this card is probably essential, right? Those, like, True Survivor, Will to Survive, Recursion combo decks, then On Your Own is, like, essential, because it allows you to have enough resources to play everything in a single turn. And it's also pretty good if you want to go with, like, Dark Horse. Oh yeah, Silas is another good option too, yep. Yeah, like, obviously it's not super great in a lot of decks. I could also see it being pretty good in Pete too, because Duke doesn't take up your ally slot. And Duke is all you really need to be successful, so... You know, if you consider that most Duke, or most Pete decks run LeBron to gain resources, then using On Your Own to do the same thing, essentially, is arguably just as good, if not better, because you start with it in the game to begin with. Yeah, I mean, I think anyone that can take it could I think there's reason to build a deck around it. I think, like, saving 2 resources a turn can, I think, be game-winning. So I think it's worth trying to... Oh, yeah, that's stupid. I didn't even think about that. Because of the way Yorick's Elder Sign works, yeah, that's pretty good. And those are, like, the kinds of interesting things that you could do with a card like that. To me, it seems worth the 6 experience that you put into it, because it's like literally the whole crux of the deck that you'd build around it. But let's go ahead and go into other cards here. So we have the other Survivor card, which was not previously spoiled, which is an Altered Fate level 1. So I can't even remember how much the first one cost, but I'm assuming this is a downgrade. Alright, so it's a 3-cost event spell. Blessed, has a willpower and agility icon, and it says choose and discard from play a non-weakness treachery that is not attached to an elite enemy. Is that the same, or is that different? It was level 3 and fast, that's right. So this one costs you an action to play. Okay. And it had the lightning bolt, right? So you could play it during anyone's turn, if I remember correctly. As fast as you can play it only during your turn, right? I'm sure at some point you guys will see Vase probably play that card in his Father Mateo decks. And then we have, last but surely not least, can I get a chat drum roll, please? Chat, give me a drum roll. You guys are terrible. Talking about some card I don't care about. Thank you. Alright. It's not Blowgun, but it's close. It can hold a blowgun, and it's backpack level 2. I know, Scott, you're super excited about this. Alright, so backpack level 2 costs a single resource, has a combat and agility icon, takes up the body slot, and says after it enters play, search the top 12 cards. So that's twice as many cards that you get to search. Search your deck for up to 3 non-weakness item or supply cards and attach them face down to backpack, and then shuffle your deck. Cards to backpack may be played as if they were in your hand. If there are no cards attached to it, discard it. So yeah, 12 cards or 15 with Mandy. Or Mandy could grab 4. She could grab 4 items. I think that this card will... I think this upgrade will certainly make people consider playing backpack. Like, searching 12 cards is, like, a lot. It's half your deck, essentially. Because by the time that you finish mulliganing and whatnot, you know, you have, what, 28 cards left in your deck, usually? 27? It's 2 experience. So it's a pretty low cost, too, all things considered. And you could backpack a backpack. So that you could backpack while you backpack. So if you had 2 in your deck, that's so many backpacks. Yeah, backpackception. Absolutely. Alright, but let's get into the weaknesses here, chat. So we've got 4 new weaknesses here. And we'll start with the, I think, not the least interesting, but it's not of a cycle, so the first one we have here is Dendromorphosis, which has some excellent flavor text. And for those of you that were at Arkham Knights 2018, congratulations. This was created by Carolyn Fern herself. Plants! I love the flavor text of just plants. Excellent. Alright, so Dendromorphosis is a basic weakness that takes up 2 hand slots, has 1 health, and says Revelation. Put it into play into your threat area. It cannot leave play while it has no damage on it. And then you get, as a fast action, take a direct damage to deal a damage to it. Interesting. So for certain investigators, this could be terrible. Like investigators that rely on their hand slots. But I think otherwise that's a pretty tame weakness. Yeah, I think all things considered, that's pretty tame. Alright, and then we have a cycle of new. Looks to be kind of a continuation of like the doomed weakness. So it starts off with an offer you can't refuse, or a camera that you can't focus. There we go. Okay, so offer you can't refuse is a basic weakness packed, campaign mode only. When you become the bearer of this weakness, gain 2 experience. Which is interesting, so I'm assuming that happens as you're building your deck. So that's interesting. As a revelation that says lose 5 resources. If you cannot, instead remove offer you can't refuse from your deck, search the collection for fine print and place it in your discard pile. So we'll get into the fine print. So it's got a slight variation on the artwork. You can see up here that the scroll itself has some changes to it from the initial one. The eye is like flaming and there's more things going on. Looks like there's some blood. Alright, so fine print is a weakness packed. It says revelations lose 7 resources. If you can't, instead remove fine print from your deck, search the collection for Cellular Soul and place it into your discard pile. And then we have Cellular Soul, which is the super amazing artwork there. Which says, Revelation, lose 10 resources if you cannot. Your dark patron tears your consciousness from your body and you are driven insane. It's a very cool design. Very taxing on your resources. So if you have this card in your deck, you're probably going to want to play all the emergency caches. Which is great, because you'd have, hopefully you'd have the new backpack in your deck, so you could find them more easily. So pretty interesting cards overall.
If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and consider subscribing to the channel to become one of the many that are lost in time and space.